For anyone who wears mascara, you know the name, Maybelline, a makeup giant. Now, there's an interesting story behind this company, and our guest today has written a book on it. Sharrie Williams is the great niece of the company's founder and author of The Maybelline Story and the spirited family dynasty behind it. Sharrie, welcome to Bridge City News.
Thank you for having me.
Now, Maybelline has been around a very long time and has a lot of success. Are people interested in hearing more about the family story?
It seems like they're more interested in the family story than the corporate story or the business story. Even though a lot of people love the success, they're interested in the drama behind it.
Now, is it actually true that Tom Lyle got the idea of the eye makeup from seeing his sister Mabel fixing her eyelashes with coal and Vaseline after she accidentally singed herself?
Yes, that is definitely true. She was mixing some ash from a cork and a little Vaseline and put it on her eyelashes and eyebrows. And Tom Lyle walked in and said, "You look like the silent film stars." He worked in the Nickelodeon, so he was amazed to see those eyes. And he said, "Is there anything like this on the market that women could buy?" And she said, "No, they have lipstick and rouge." But eyes were the most ignored part of a woman's face in 1915. So he went to a chemist and came out with his first little product called Lash Brow Een, and then changed it to Maybelline in honor of his sister who gave him the idea.
Wow, fascinating story. So, how old was your great uncle when he started the mail order makeup company?
19. He's basically a teenager.
That's incredible. So,
I
graduating high
know.
school and then starting this big company, that must have been quite the
He didn't,
undertaking for a teenager, right?
well, no, but he didn't even graduate high school.
Oh,
He only went through the 10th grade, and he knew that he wanted to be an entrepreneur, and he kept trying to figure out different products that would launch, and this little idea launched.
that's incredible. Probably get all of his sister's best friends or all of his sister's friends as clients off the top. Now, I understand that Tom Lyle had already tried and failed 3 times at getting a business going. Is that true?
Well, yes, he had these ideas. He was trying to think of something. And so he had gag gifts. He would sell in the classifieds these gag gifts, and that didn't work. And then he tried selling another kind of product that he didn't realize how much the shipping would be on it. So it was like vegetables or something with a farmer. He thought, oh, that's what it's going to be. People need, food, but he didn't realize that the shipping killed him. And so when he finally did come up with this idea, he needed the money, and his brother said, "You've already failed. I don't want to give you the money." He goes, "Just give me one chance," and it took right off. Pretty close.
So, once the eye makeup business got started, yeah, I guess it really took off. What was it that really got customers' attention?
Silent films. See, they both were born at the same time. The silent film industry was just in its infancy, but women were for the first time seeing those eyes on the screen. And they were made up heavily with kohl. And women began to notice those eyes. And Tom Lyle just said, "We got to put this in the classifieds because, women will buy this." Not all women, actually flappers. Flappers, prostitutes, good, I know, good women on the street did not buy Maybelline in the beginning because a virtuous woman would not put anything on her eyes.
So, you're talking about silent films. Did any Hollywood starlets at that time, or maybe Hollywood producers, reach out to your great uncle and say,
Well,
hey, we want your product?
actually, he reached out to them because what he used for marketing Maybelline was the silent film stars, and then the big stars of the 30s and 40s. And so, no, you never saw a picture of Tom Lyle. He was always represented by a Hollywood star.
That's amazing. Now, a lot of the family actually joined in with the family business early on, correct?
Well, yes, because they all lived in a little flat above the first little factory that they had. All of them, mom and dad, 5 kids, and they went to the post office every day with satchels and They had to carry the mail back because the mail was causing such a problem at the post office. They said, "You got to come down here and bring your bag." So the whole family, with a wheelbarrow and everything, went down there, lugged it, brought it to the kitchen table, took the gum and glue off of it, took the quarters off, sent the product back. That's how they started.
Let's talk about some of the more unique marketing techniques that your great uncle used. Talk a bit about that.
Well, marketing, his claim to fame was advertising. He would like to be remembered as the king of advertising because he was, even though he didn't get a diploma from high school, he had some other brilliance. He was always a step ahead of what a woman wanted. Now, he was gay. I mean, I guess you know that, right? Even though he had a child, was married, and it was annulled, but his whole thing with women is he could sense ahead of the market what they wanted. So he didn't just target one market. He targeted every single market all the way through for the 50 years that he was with Maybelline. And every different ad would appeal to this market or that market or your grandmother, your mother, your teenagers in the early 60s. So I think that, and he was also the first of so many products. He was the first to have, now you walk into a dime store, um, and you see twirling, the twirling with all the products on it. Well, that was his idea. And other ideas that were innovative that they use now, that's no big deal, like putting bubble wrap when you go in and you buy a product and it's on a cardboard, and that was his idea. So he was very innovative besides being a advertising genius.
Were there any other companies that maybe looked towards to get some creative marketing inspiration early on?
Oh, no, no, no. He bought up little companies. Maybelline was the first. Before 1925, there was no word for mascara. It was called Mascara was called Maybelline. Like a girl would say, "I need to order some Maybelline." That would mean I need to order some mascara. So no, he any little product, any little company that would come on the market, he quickly bought them up, especially after the Depression, because nobody could compete with his marketing genius.
Like any new startup company, though, there are a lot of lows. I mean, it takes a lot of work, a lot of grunt work to get it going. What are some of the obstacles that your great uncle run into as he tried to market his product line?
Well, the biggest one was when he first came out with his first product. It was called Lash Brow Een, and he was sued by another little cosmetic eyelash company that was called something very similar to that. And so that was the first obstacle that he had right off the bat, was that he had to, which was the main reason he renamed it Maybelline. But other obstacles that he had was the fact that he was gay. It it, it was a it was almost the government tried to stop anybody in the women's cosmetic industry that was gay. So that was another reason why he hid behind the gates of the Rudolph Valentino villa, he and his partner of 50 years. And there were just other, the depression. He lost everything. All the first money that he made in the banks closed, but he didn't stop. At that moment, he decided, I'm not going to continue putting it in the classifieds or the back of magazines. We're going to put it into drugstores. We're going to lower the price. We may not have the volume. I mean, they were 75 cents. He lowered it to 10. He made the mascara a little smaller, and any woman, even during the Depression, could afford 10 cents. So that was another genius thing.
Did Tom Lyle Williams ever consider giving up on his dream? Did he ever come to the point saying, you know what, I'm out, this is too difficult?
He worried all the time. He was a great worrier, but he was also a Catholic. He prayed all the time. He would get down on his knees every night. He would ask for guidance. And there was one time when the company, I would say maybe 1940s or late 30s, during the Depression, he, he wanted to sell the company to a big conglomerate in New York. So he went up to New York with one of the people that worked with him, and Rags Raglan, and Rags said, "You can't sell. This is just the beginning. There's the moon to go to. We got to shoot for the moon." So he always had people talk him off the cliff. But yeah, he'd get scared. He'd get scared because it was growing so big. And when companies grow big, you either have to get more products, you have to have more money and put it. It's not easy.
So, what did he say to the naysayers that said, you know what, this is never going to work? This will never take off?
Well, he'd had that in the very beginning. They said he's a dreamer. He's never going to make anything of himself. He's a loser. And that's why he was forced to have his marriage annulled because they said he's never going to make anything of himself. So what he did was he left home and he went to Chicago and he moved into a boarding house and he worked 24 hours a day and he never stopped.
Your great uncle sold the company in 1967, and the family made a big profit from this. How did the sudden wealth actually impact the family?
Oh, well, of course, it was exciting in the beginning, but so many tragedies happened. I mean, everybody thinks they want to win the lottery and, they just dream of having a windfall of a lot of money. But uh, we didn't even know. Tom Lyle left all of his money to his family and the people that worked for him so that they became millionaires overnight. The guy who started in the stock room with him in the beginning, he got a check for $1 million. So we all went out to our mailboxes that day, and there was checks in there for several million, whatever it was. And I don't think that we were prepared. We were just like a regular little middle class family, very close, very loving. I went to Lutheran school until the 8th grade. I mean, kind of like really innocent. And when that money came, it just blew everyone apart. And there were a lot of tragedies. My mother's uh, fell into mental illness. She could not deal with the transition, especially my father, because every woman in town was interested in him at that point. And my grandmother took off with a gigolo and was killed, in Hot Springs, Arkansas, in a arson related fire. So, I mean, it's just been so hard. But now I have a daughter and grandchildren, and they're more normal than because I grew up with such glamour and, you know,
Now, there were some con artists. There were con artists as well that tried to swindle some family members out of their wealth, too. Tell me more about that.
that was my grandmother. She was 74 and he was 10 years younger. Took her to Hot Springs, Arkansas, away from Newport Beach, California, where the family lived, to Hot Springs, Arkansas, during the time of Clinton had just become governor. She opened a dinner palace, and no one knows if it was the mafia or her business partner, but 3 bombs went off in her house the next day, and she was burned beyond recognition. And that was our Nana, you know. So
Now, Sharrie, tell me about this book that you wrote as well. It doesn't happen on its own. What was the most difficult part for you in putting this together?
staying with it, because it took me many, many years. My first inkling of an idea to do it was when I was 15. There was a lot more story that was going to unfold before I finally did it. Also, I think getting a publisher, was challenging, and editing was really difficult, but it all came together after so many years. It was synchronicity because a friend of mine met a publisher and introduced me to them, and over time, the book was published. So, but that not giving up. I've written a second book right now, and we are in the midst of showing it for possible miniseries along with the first book. And right now, even it's like I go, oh, this is so hard. Do I want to keep pushing and having disappointments and all of that that goes with anything that you really want. But one day at a time, I live life and a phone call comes, an email has to be answered. I have to show up someplace. I just do it and kind of let destiny take its course.
Should aspiring authors expect a lot of rejection and closed doors?
Yes. Yes. Nowadays, the big publishing companies, just like the big production companies, aren't what they used to be. It's more like independent productions now on Netflix and Amazon and Apple. And it's the same with publishing. Just don't be afraid to self publish your own book and market it. You make sure you've got your website, your blog, your Twitter, all those things you can do just like my great uncle did. It's just that he did it in classified magazines. Now you do it in social media. But yes, if you have the desire and you put that work in every day, don't you think it's like destiny? Something will happen if you don't give up.
And for our female viewers, do you have any beauty secrets you can pass along?
Well, my grandmother, Miss Maybelline, the one that was killed in the fire, she would create this beauty mask, and it is really incredible. It's a mask like a mud pack, and you just mix a little bit of, say, flour, mostly like oat flour or rice flour, a little bit of yogurt. Put those things together and put that on your face and let it dry, and it just brings all the blood to the surface and just feeds the skin. And when you wash that thing off, your skin is just so smooth. That's one of my favorite secrets.
I may have to try that myself. Sharrie Williams, author of The Maybelline Story and the spirited family dynasty behind it. Thanks a lot for joining me today from California.
My pleasure.
On behalf of all of us here at Bridge City News, I'm Hal Roberts. God bless and have a great night.